Hey, thanks for watching the Language Arts Gallery. If it's your first time watching my channel, please hit like, subscribe, and comment on the video. And today we're going to build on our last video where we talked about the block method of the comparative essay. Today we're going to talk about a second approach to the block method of the comparative essay. We're also going to outline what are the topics for comparison, the points of comparison, and go over some helpful hints that you can use when you're writing your comparative essay using this other approach to the block method. So let's get started. Okay, so let's take a look at the block format that we talked about last week. So remember, we've introduced our students to the rhetorical features of academic writing already. We've taught them that a 5-paragraph essay has a good introduction, it's got 3 body paragraphs, and then it's got a concluding paragraph. Remember, for our block method, there was a difference. We only had 2 body paragraphs. So this essay was actually 4 paragraphs. And the thing I love about this approach, as I said in our last video, is this is great for teaching young learners the comparative essay. The first body paragraph, we list the similarities between our 2 topics for comparison. And in the second body paragraph, we simply go over the differences. So this is really simple, really easy for them to understand. So let's take a look at another approach here. Okay, so let's take a look at a second approach to the block method. We're going to talk about topics for comparison and points of comparison as we go over this. So I want to make sure that we understand what those things are. The topics for comparison are simply the things that you're comparing. So, for example, if you're comparing the Christmas holiday with the New Year's holiday, your topics for comparison are Christmas and New Year's. Pretty simple. So, your points of comparison are actually how you're going to be comparing these things. So, for example, if you're talking about the holidays, you might talk about the length of the holiday, the gifts that you give and receive, and where you celebrate these holidays. So, those are the ways in which you're going to compare these 2 holidays, and those are called your points of comparison. And that's important, especially when we talk about this new approach to block method essay writing for the comparative essay. So let's talk a little bit about what this looks like. We've still got that same 4-paragraph structure. We've got our introduction and our conclusion. And again, we've got 2 paragraphs for the body of our essay. But those paragraphs are structured a little bit differently than they were in the first approach to the block method. So in our first body paragraph, we're actually going to explain everything about the first topic for comparison. And we're going to explain it relevant to the 3 points of comparison. So if I was talking about Christmas in my example earlier, I would talk about how long the Christmas holiday lasts. I would talk about the gifts we give and receive on Christmas. And I would talk about where I celebrate the Christmas holiday. In my second body paragraph, I'm going to talk about the second topic for comparison, which is New Year's. And I'm going to talk about that relevant to each of those 3 points of comparison. In this paragraph, that's where I make the comparisons and the contrasts. So when you look at your model essay, you can expect your second body paragraph to be a little bit longer, because that's where you're making the comparisons and contrasts. That's where you're going to be using that comparative language. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at our model essay. Here, the author is comparing printed textbooks and ebooks. So those are our 2 topics for comparison. We've got our textbooks and we've got ebooks. And the author is comparing them where cost, convenience, and learning outcomes are concerned. So those are your points of comparison. So here, the author tells us all about tablets in the first body paragraph. And in the second body paragraph, the author tells us all about printed textbooks. And the important thing is here, the author compares and contrasts ebooks and tablets. And we can see a lot of that comparative language, such as while, however, whereas. So we can see that that second body paragraph is a little bit longer than that first body paragraph. The first is, remember to present your points of comparison in the same order in each body paragraph. So remember, your points of comparison are how you're comparing these 2 topics of comparison. So your first body paragraph, talk about point 1. your second, talk about point 1 first. So make sure that you're presenting these in the same order. That makes it easy for your reader to follow. Okay, helpful hint number 2 is make sure that you make comparisons and contrasts in your second body paragraph. So you don't want to simply list everything. You're actually comparing and contrasting. Remember, this is a comparative essay. And our helpful hint number 3 is in line with our last tip. You want to make those comparisons and contrasts in that second body paragraph. Don't add a third body paragraph to make your comparisons. Okay, that second body paragraph, you are going to list things relative to the 3 points of comparisons, but you're also going to be comparing and contrasting in that body paragraph. Thanks for watching my video on this second approach to the comparative essay. Please remember to hit like, subscribe, and comment on this video. And you can find this resource on the complete comparative essay, along with other academic writing resources in my Teachers Pay Teachers store. There are also lots of other great free resources there as well.